back. So we're gonna take some time to share some of my favorite stories with you guys. So I have a couple of different ones I want to share. They're some of my funniest stories, or at least they're funny to me because it just continues to express the fact that I have the strangest luck in the world and the strangest things happen to me, and you could make it up if you wanted to. So we're going to talk about my federal felony that I got when I was 16. I'm going to caveat this off with the fact that it's not a violent felony. It was one of those dumb kid things, and thank God it was expunged when I turned 18. Earned 100 hours of community service and stuff like that from it. But let me set the scene for you. So it's 1998. 1998. Now I'm got my driver's license. I got my Chevy Love pickup truck. Um, my I love that stupid truck. But I got my Chevy Love pickup truck that me and my granddad built together, and got me a girlfriend. Girlfriend lives up on Glade Park, which is on the back side of the Colorado National Monument. Now, keep in mind, this is before we had pagers, but we didn't have cell phones. TV still had backs on them at the time. That's where we're at. So if you got into trouble out in the middle of nowhere, there was no way to reach out to somebody and give them a call, especially if you're a teenage kid in rural Colorado that don't have a lot of money to pay $200 a month for cell phone service and 1,000, because cell phones at that time were making the merge from the briefcase sized suckers to the Nokia brick phones, right? That was the transition. So if you had a lot of money, you could either have the briefcase phone or you could have the brick phone that had that felt like you were in the army trying to radio home base or whatever. Those were the phones that were available when this story took place. Needless to say that I didn't have one. So I had my old Chevy Love pickup truck. It still had the 4-cylinder at the time. Thing was held together with baling wire and sheet metal, and bungee cords held the distributor in place so that it would stroke appropriately and everything. When you build a car, your first car, you learn some stuff along the way, and now as an adult, I don't use bungee cords in the engine compartment of my vehicles if I can help it, but I know how to do it if it's necessary to get down the road. That being said, so I got my first girlfriend. We're driving her home after she spent the weekend at her friend's house down in Grand Junction, or down in Clifton, which is where I lived. It was about 30 minutes away or whatever. We're taking her home. It's January. It is 10 degrees outside. There's a fog that has rolled in over the top of the National Monument. Now, the Colorado National Monument is a really crazy place, and it's beautiful during the daylight, but it is the scary. It looks like every horror movie you've ever seen, like out of Jeepers Creepers, going up there at night. Now, the fog was so thick going up that road that I literally had to hang my head out the passenger or the driver's side window when it's 10 degrees outside, fog. So I had ice building in my hair as I looked out the side of the window to see the yellow line on the road as you climbed up the Colorado National Monument. Now, the Colorado National Monument has a couple places, one of which is called Cold Shivers Point. I can't remember if it's 5,000 or 10,000 feet to the bottom of that sucker, but there's no guardrail up there. There's some rocks along the edge of the road, and during the daylight you can see the said rocks, and you know that you're gonna drive off the edge of the monument. But it's this wind-in switchback road with drop-offs and stuff, and it's a beautiful drive in the daylight in the summertime. Middle of January, after dark in the fog, not so much. Now, my Chevy Love pickup was that with the 4-cylinder was a 5-speed manual transmission. Needless to say, I didn't realize that my alternator had died, so my truck was running on pure battery power and a prayer that I hadn't learned how to say yet. So somewhere along the way, driving so slow, afraid to drive off the edge of the road, the truck stalled, and there wasn't enough juice left in the battery to start the motor back up. So there we are, 9 truck. I had they had gotten out and backed me off the road a little bit so that we weren't sitting in the middle of the road dead. We were sitting on the side of the road dead. And now the strategy at this point in time is that so when you would go somewhere in the 80s and 90s, make a trip like that, you would call somebody when you left the house and just, I'll know on my way, I should be there in about 30 minutes. Now, if you didn't get there in 30 minutes, then they would question, well, did they stop for gas or get a soda or grab a burger or whatever? So usually right about the hour mark of a 30-minute trip, if you hadn't called them or shown up, then they would begin to worry about you. And then sometime after that, they would begin to go physically look for you. So that was our plan, because we were still miles away from the girlfriend's house up in Glade Park. And again, it was dark, foggy, cold. And we decided to build a fire to keep warm, because you can only get so warm inside the cab of a truck when it's 10 degrees outside and the heat, the motor won't run. And after all the discussions about getting naked and sharing body heat and all that stuff, which ultimately in that situation, then a tiny little truck cab wouldn't have helped anybody anyways, because you could be able to put a foot on somebody, let alone, you couldn't get turned around to actually share body, surface area with anybody to share your body heat. So we decided to build a fire. So we're looking around for sticks and stuff in the fog. We're doing it basically on all fours, because we don't want to accidentally step off the side of one of these drop-offs that we know are in the area, or we think are in the area, because we don't really know where the heck we're at on the road. So we built this little pile of sticks and everything, and I use a couple of business cards out of my wallet, and something since I was in the Boy Scouts. I always carried a cigarette lighter in my pocket, because you never know when you were going to need fire. So at least we had a way to start the fire. And then after, so we started the fire to keep warm. We're all huddled up. We built it like morons right next to the truck with the door open to try to break the wind, and so we could have lit the truck on fire and burned ourselves to bits. But anyways, that being said, we started a fire, and then eventually we ran out of sticks. So the girlfriend, who had been had brought an overnight bag, and she started burning her underwear and stuff in the fire, because it took so long to find sticks, stuff, because it's basically a desert. We started burning that stuff to keep the fire going, and that lasted for probably about 2 hours or so. We did that, and then afterwards, the fire department, Glade Park Fire Department, her parents called the fire department to come look for us, because neither one of them were comfortable driving in the fog and stuff. And the fire truck had all the great big searchlights and everything, and they had the flash, the red flashers on the top of the fire truck, so it would light up the chrome and stuff on my truck. I mean, they thought it out a little bit. So they eventually found us sitting on the side of the road, and they gave me a jump start, got my truck running. They took my girlfriend to her parents' house, and then me and my girlfriend's friend, or our mutual friend or whatever, then we went ahead and turned around and went down the mountain, or down the National Monument, and I took her home, and then I went home. All things considered, I finally got home. I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning, because again, the fog was really thick. Still had to hang my head out the door to get down the road. It was so bad. And then you finally get down to where underneath the fog, drop an elevation, get underneath the fog, and made it home. Next day, I'm out looking at the truck, trying to figure out what the hell happened. Discovered the alternator was dead. I was like, oh well, I'll go down to the parts store and get that. At that moment, when I went to get ready to go to the parts store, I realized I didn't have my wallet with me. I had discovered I had dropped it on the ground up there where we had built our little fire. So then it was like, all right, well, let me get, clutch start the truck, and because cool thing about manual transmissions is you can give it a good push and get it going, and then you can dump the clutch with it in first gear, and it'll start the motor, and then you can go on it. Very little battery power and all that stuff required. It'll get going. So my thought was to clutch start the truck and get up the mountain. Well, it's about that time I'm spending probably 20 to 30 minutes trying to push this truck and clutch start it. Mail carrier gave me a bump with his mail truck, got me going, and the truck's out there idling, and I'm on the quest to go get my wallet back from the top of the Colorado Monument, and I get a phone call. My mom gets a phone call, comes out, and she said, "Hey, your youth pastor's on the line." And I'm like, "Okay." Did he say what he wants? She's like, "Come talk to him. It doesn't make any sense to me." So I go up there and up to the house, and Keith was the youth pastor. And forgive me, I don't remember his last name. It's been a minute. Keith said, "Hey, what were you doing last night?" I said, and I ran through the whole story, how the truck broke down on the monument. He's like, "Well, you need to get a hold of the park ranger. He's found your wallet at the site of what he believes is a sex crime, because there's all this burned up underwear, and he needs to talk to you." He gave me his number and everything, and I called the park ranger, and he said, "You need to come down to see me. I'll be at the bottom gate or whatever." And I'll bring your parents, because there's a conversation that needs to take place. I look over at my mom and said, "Well, apparently we need to go talk to the park ranger about everything that happened last night." And she's like, "Okay." So my dad is giggling. My stepdad's giggling in the background, and he says, "I'm going to go too, because I need to see how this plays out." My luck was a pure source of entertainment for my parents. So we all get together in my dad's Blazer, because he had one of those old K5 Chevy Blazers, big ones, and we drove all the way up to the monument, the bottom gate. They actually had, and met the park ranger, and he said, "Son, do you realize it's a federal felony to start a fire on a national monument?" I said, "No, sir, I did not know. We were just trying to keep warm while we were waiting for somebody to miss us long enough to come out and look for us while the truck was broke down. Did not know it was a federal felony to start a fire on a national monument." What the hell? Long story short is going to be out on this one. So I ended up getting 100 hours of community service, which involved picking up trash on the side of the road all the way up and down the Colorado National Monument. Now, I had a regular job, I think I was working at Taco Bell at the time. So I had a regular job, went to school, but this was on the weekends, my Saturdays, I would not work my shift at Taco Bell, and then I would go up to the National Monument and pick up trash off the side of the road. 10 hours every weekend until the 100 hours was fulfilled. And to this day, occasionally, depending on what organization's doing my background check, that felony pops up in their query, and it's just this opportunity to tell this most bizarre story about how I found out it's a federal felony to start a fire on a national monument. That being said, call people when you leave your house. Let them know you're coming, how long it should take you to get there, and yeah. One of my favorite stories from my teens was this trip up the Colorado National Monument. All right, guys, if you like the story, like, subscribe, share. Check out the Stand Store for the community projects and stuff like that. And we'll see you guys next time. Be careful.